Vincenzo's Go Crypto Investing, this August the 25th, 2025 noontime update here on this seasonably chilly end of the meteorological summer here in the great state of Michigan with a northwest wind. Yes, weatherman, we have a current official temperature of 63 degrees. And just as the 63 degrees is there, Micro Strategies has bought another 3,081 Bitcoin, 356.9 million. You can see he bought those Bitcoin at an average of 115,800. He now has 46.5 billion uh dollars worth, or 632,457 Bitcoin at 73,527. So he keeps buying at all these elevated prices as it keeps appreciating. So it is bringing significantly up his average price per coin. But you can see Micro Strategies has picked up a lot. Their Bitcoin yield so far this year is 25.4%. So they're doing good on their position as long as the price continues to rise. But there were some big record outflows across the sphere too. Meta Planet adds 11.7 million worth of Bitcoin, so institutional buying continues. And this recent sell, these institutions are buying. Ethereum sets fresh high. Philippines proposed 10,000 BTC strategic reserve with a 20-year lockup. U.S. debt soars 1 trillion in 48 days. 300 million in longs liquidated in 1 hour. Bitcoin crashes. Ethereum rejects 5 grand. Uh, where was this? Again, I always see these things and then I literally come back in here right after and I can't find the stuff that I was looking for. But they were talking about how much the outflows that there were, record outflows right here. Global crypto funds record largest weekly outflow since March, worth 1.4 billion. Crypto ETP posts 1.4 billion losses amid recent Bitcoin Ethereum sell-off. And if we go into the Bitcoin price, you can see what we got going on here is we bounce now. We're attempting to create a bottom along the 4.5 year pattern support. And you can see we wicked down there first yesterday, and then we had an immediate bounce back, a few percent like you would expect. And then you've come back down and hit it again. And now you would expect this to bounce just like it did back here. But you can see back here when we did it, it was a ferocious. Computer algorithms were on sell. You can see we had the big sell candle, and then the computer algorithms clicked buy, and they went on to turn it into a new all-time high. Now you're back down here again. You've hit it twice. You're sitting just above it. You can see the 100-day moving average is on that because this is a 2.5 year, 3.5 year actually underneath support, and you don't hit it very often. And the dangerous thing is, if you don't hold it one of these times, you would come all the way down to 97,000, which is a major support level, which is the pattern change. If you got below it, you can see when you get below it right here, you're now all of a sudden micro and macro time frame extremely bearish, right? And then you can see where that drove us down to the 73,000. But that's all for another time, because right now we're still on it. But what you would expect is at least a consolidation and a slow climb to the upside along it as the 50 starts to come down and trend down. Like you can see it starting to have a rounding top. And then that would be in a few days to a week to 10 days would be where you would squeeze and you have to forcefully pump up to a new all-time high, or you would get squeezed out of the pattern and be forced to the downside. And something like this would happen. You can see out of the two patterns, when you break down, it has the big dump. And that's what would happen if you broke out of here. But right now, we're still holding just above it. If we zoom up here at the hour time frame, you can see what I'm talking about. You had your first hit yesterday, and then you bounced up, and now you've come back all the way down today, and now you're consolidating. And now what might happen is you come back down one more time, and then maybe you have a nice run up, or maybe you would attempt to break down out of there. And that's what we're going to be watching for here over the next several days. And this is something that we've been talking about for a few months, ever since we had that hit a couple of months ago. You can see the Ethereum price now is trying to make a local short-term top for the first time in a while, where you did bounce like we thought you would off the consolidation off the 4,050, created a new all-time high, hit just below 5,000, got the quick rejection, and now what could happen is you have a step down pattern and you actually come all the way back down and retest the $4,050 again, and then make a decision. Are you going to continue to the upside, or are you going to move to the downside? Because you're underneath support, and the downside is the 3,080. If you got below the 4,000, you can see the 50-day moving average in a day or two. By the time the price gets there, it's going to be sitting right on it. Then you have the top part of that green support and resistance box, and you have the 100-day moving average that's going to be sitting right on top of that. And the 200-day moving average will be sitting right on. All the moving averages are lining up with the critical horizontal support and resistance levels that correspond with the moving average at that level. So that's very interesting to note. So I'm thinking the next couple of days here, you're going to consolidate sideways in Ethereum and actually maybe come back and retest this neckline support, or this megaphone neckline support, right? As we move along to XLM, same thing. You're in this consolidation. You can see that this is also, most of these are near critical horizontal supports. The 200-day moving average, the 100-day moving average is sitting, come on. The 100-day moving average is now sitting just above the 36 cents, top part of the green trading zone. You can see the 200-day moving average is just north of the bottom part of that trading zone, sitting there at 32 cents. And we're sitting right now just below still the 50-day moving average, because the 50-day moving average is sitting right there at 0.396, and the price is sitting there at 0.39396, just below it on this most recent wick. So if you want to get bullish again, you got to get back above the 50-day moving average in the short term. Right here, you got to get back above that 50. Then you can make a run at this 43 cents and try to attack it, and then take out the regional high up there from back in July of 51 cents. If you continue to the downside, your next move is going to be right on this 100-day moving average, right on this 36 cents. And then that would start to bring a question is, in the next week to 10 days, after a slight rally off of that, would your next move not be, or will be, to the 32 cents or the 200-day moving average? So that's something that we're watching. So in the short term, you need to get above the 50-day moving average in order to get bullish again. And in order to stay bullish, you got to get above the 43 cents. And if, oh, hi, if you can get above the 43 cents, you have to, if you got above the 43 cents, that's where you could get very, very bullish and try to make a run towards this 55 cents. But right now you're below the 50, you're below that. And when you're below the 50 and below the 43 cents, this 36 cents, and eventually the 200-day moving average will act like a magnet. So this is what we're going to watch out here today. And we'll get more into the news and more into some of the technicals and more into some of the things that with the Federal Reserve that are going to happen next month and that's going to take place next year, as Donald Trump is bullied and will push out Jerome Powell, and they're going to put in a Fed chairman that is going to be soft, that is going to be easy, and that is going to lower interest rates, increase monetary stimulus, because they're going to lower short-term rates, but that doesn't mean long-term rates for like mortgages and 30-year rates are going to go down. They're probably going to continue to go up because of the financial crisis and inflation and the money strain that we're in. And then they're going to have to bring on the printing presses again to start buying up uh, government bonds and government debt, right? To try to force that down, and all that monetary spending and low interest rates. What Trump's going to do is going to sacrifice the dollar. Gold and silver are going to go. Gold's going to end up. We had a $3,500 target 4.5 years ago, right after COVID, when it was at $1,600. We had a $3,500 call. It's now, it got within $40 a few months ago, and currently it's sitting just below 3,400. As Trump bullies out Jerome Powell, puts in a puppet, and then he drives interest rates down to near 1%, fires up the printing presses. They start monetizing the government debt. They start buying government bonds. It's going to drive gold's going to 5,000. Silver's going to be at 50. We made that call when silver was at 1850 during COVID. We said it would be at 50. It's almost there. It just got below $39 the other day. Before you know it, it's going to be at 50. And by the end of Trump's presidency, if he sacrifices the dollar like he's already doing and threatening to really put a death nail into it, I think silver could get to $100 by the time Donald Trump leaves office. And that's why I've loaded up on mining stocks. I've loaded up on bullion. I've loaded up on asset appreciating things under a sacrificing, depreciating dollar, right? And if we go into the XRP, is the same thing, just at a different level. You can see we've got harshly rejected off of that 307 major horizontal resistance. It couldn't get above it, and now it's forced you all the way down to just above the 50-day moving average. And I think you're going to lose the 50-day, and you're probably going to have to at least briefly for a moment the 275 like we were talking about over the weekend. I think this is where you're going in the short term, and potentially you could hit in the longer term, maybe this weekend or next week, the 255. But in the short term, as long as you're below the 307, the 255 is going to start to act like a magnet. But first it's going to hit the 275 followed by a bounce, and then you're going to have to see, can it get above this 307 on that bounce, or is it just a dead man's bounce before it actually gets sucked down to the $2.55. Like the channel, subscribe. We'll give you another update and a better update when I get home and out of work this evening. Peace and love. The Rock Eyebrow, Jay.